Let's gauge the trade market.
Ooh.
Good article in The Athletic about what's actually available. And it was perfect timing because yesterday we were trying to figure out what positional availability was out there. Props to Chad Jennings and Tim Britton for putting this together. And let's just do a little glance. Remember yesterday, Kratz, we were talking about what center field looked like. So let's run from catcher and then move our way out, okay? Catcher. According to them, I don't even think there is a sure thing for a first division catcher that's available, because the two names they threw out there both are not necessarily available. They threw Sean Murphy's name out there, not necessarily available. They threw Jose Trevino's name out there, not necessarily available. And then there's a pretty big drop off after that. We did talk about a team like the Padres needing catching, but let's go to more interesting positions. There is a large amount, potentially even gluttonous, of corner infielders that could be available. Geno Suárez, Josh Naylor, Ryan McMahon, Ryan O'Hearn, Nathaniel Lowe, Carlos Santana, Josh Bell, and maybe even a little Ramon Urias at third base, maybe even a Yohan Moncada, although I think the Angels are going to hang in there. So that's your corner infield group. Solid guys that can help playoff teams.
Without a doubt. I think Gene Suárez is the one that pops to me. Saw him the other day. Absolute stud. He's been hitting for a long time now. He's one of the top leaders in home runs. Hopefully his hand's okay from the All-Star game. The guy can hit. The guy can absolutely mash. You know that. He can play defense too. He's a solid guy, solid defender. And, you know, if I'm looking for a third baseman, Yankees, there's my guy.
Everybody's going to talk about Geno, and obviously he's going to go. I think O'Hearn's going to go. To me, I was reminded of what I saw in 2018 when he was just breaking onto the scene with the Rockies. Ryan McMahon, when he takes BP, and I get it, the Rockies aren't like superstar laden. Mm-hmm. They have some dudes that can hit homers in BP, and you watch it and you're like, holy crap. I took my son's whole team out onto the field to watch BP at the Sox game when we were in Fenway, and they were like, who's that? He was hitting the ball significantly farther and harder, and he has this beautiful left-handed swing, and I go, well, he's hitting like 212 right now, but I honestly thought at the time he was going to surpass like Charlie Blackmon and all those guys. Mm-hmm. To me, Ryan McMahon he's number one on the list of change of scenery guys to an organization that wants to win. And if this dude has a competitive bone in his body, which I think he does, mm-hmm. I think the Rockies would do him if you want to do right by the player, give him a shot.
Yep.
Give him a shot, and I want to see him in the middle of a lineup. He doesn't need to hit third or fourth in a really good lineup. If somebody doesn't get Geno Suárez, go to him, and you get great defense, probably better defense than Geno, and you get a sweet left-handed swing.
True.
And they didn't even mention Ke'Bryan Hayes. We'll talk about him later, but I do think he's available as well. We're not going to spend much time on middle infield because, according to the article, there's not a lot to look at. They mentioned Willie Castro if the Twins sell. They mentioned Ozzie Albies. I have a tough time seeing the Braves parting with him. The Urias brothers, Ramon, Luis, they said might be the most legit options. You could make a case again for the Angels with Luis Rengifo, but he's having a bad year. And again, I don't think they're necessarily going to sell. Let's finish with the outfield. So center field, we covered yesterday as Luis Robert and Cedric Mullins. I mentioned Harrison Bader. That's in the list as well. They threw two other names out there. Alek Thomas from the Diamondbacks outfield. Again, not necessarily going to be dealt. Jarren Duran, very much not necessarily going to be dealt either. So I think there's really maybe two guys that you can guarantee in Mullins and Robert that will be available, like we mentioned, and then maybe Bader if the Twins sell. And we'll finish with corner outfields and then get your final thoughts here. They mentioned Wilyer Abreu, just pondering if the Red Sox would part with one outfielder, especially if it does help them get something that can help them in the near term. They mentioned Taylor Ward, again, if the Angels do sell or not. Ramon Laureano, that's a lock. Austin Hayes likely gets dealt. Randall Grichuk, Jesus Sanchez from the Marlins, and
everybody's favorite there.
Tommy Pham, everybody's favorite. Always.
He's always
that's the list.
Always
Tommy trade deadline.
Tommy deadline.
Tommy deadlines. Pham. My thing, we never think about the baseball trades. The Mets want a center fielder. let's say they get a guy like Cedric Mullins who can play every day. You're going to play him against lefties. You're going to play him against righties. I don't think they would see him as a split guy. They have Tyrone Taylor. Can Tyrone Taylor fit in a team that doesn't necessarily need a lot of offense, but would be able to fit on defense? So not obviously he's not going to go to the Orioles, but more of like a team picking somebody up to shift somebody else, like the Phillies picking up a big left-handed bat and shipping Marsh somewhere. More like big league trades instead of that like prospect for superstar kind of thing.
And I want to piggyback on that too as well. I think, Cedric, I think he said it before and came out and said he loves it there in Baltimore and he would love to stay there. I think he needs a change of scenery. I honestly do. I think it's time. It's one of those guys where I would love to see him be an Oriole for life, but a change of scenery, get him kick-started, get him that second win kind of deal, if, for lack of better words, get on a different team and all of a sudden just take off and be who you are, bro. People know you in Baltimore, they love you, but, it's like that girlfriend you're just clinging on to for too long, man. Let it go. Have some fun somewhere else and go on a playoff team.
Yep, there you go. A couple comments on the finish line
Too
here.
much.
Armand said Rockies ownership loves McMahon. Doubt they trade him.
Yeah.
But I think they're finally starting to change their tone.
If you love something, let it go.
Yeah, exactly. Let them thrive elsewhere. And Brandon Dillman said Laureano is a super cheap team option for 26. Highly doubt he gets traded. Yeah, you might be right. But being that there's not a ton on the market, the Orioles are going to look to capitalize for next year. And I know you're saying, hey, he's on the board for them for next year, but you could have said the same thing about Brian Baker.